Solo-based test items for aspiring principals. The Solo taxonomy describes how a learner's understanding develops in stages. At the pre-structural level, the learner has little to no understanding. Responses are often irrelevant. At the unistructural level, understanding is limited to a single relevant aspect. In the multistructural stage, several relevant aspects are understood, but they are seen independently without connection. At the relational level, the learner integrates those aspects, showing how they link together in a coherent whole. Finally, the extended abstract level goes beyond. Learners generalize their understanding, transfer ideas, and apply them in new contexts. This progression moves from surface learning to deep and extended learning, giving us a clear framework for assessing the quality of student responses. Unistructural items focus on one relevant piece of information. At this level, learners simply recall or recognize a single fact, term, or definition without making connections. The assessment is basic and measures recognition or recall, not deeper understanding. Example items. 1. What is the main purpose of DepEd Order Number 32, S. 2017? 2. Which law is a foundation of this policy that promotes women's rights? 3. Who is covered by the gender-responsive basic education policy? These items are unistructural because each focuses on a single detail from the policy. For example, one asks only about the purpose of DepEd Order Number 32, series of 2017. Another asks for its legal basis, and another identifies the policy's coverage. Each question isolates one fact without requiring connections across ideas, making them basic recall tasks. Multistructural items require learners to recall several independent pieces of information. Each detail is correct and relevant, but they are not yet asked to connect or integrate them. The task is to recognize or list multiple aspects as a collection of facts. Example items. 4. What principles guide the policy? Equality, sensitivity, HR, etc. 5. What are the goals of the policy? Access, protection, participation, etc. 6. Which actions are included in DEEP's commitments? These items are multistructural because they require recalling several distinct details from the policy. For example, one asks for the guiding principles, another for the goals, and another for DEEP's commitments. Each involves multiple correct components, but the learner does not need to connect or analyze them, only to recognize a collection of facts. Relational items require learners to connect multiple pieces of information and see how they relate. Instead of just recalling separate facts, the learner must integrate principles and apply them to a situation or context. This moves the assessment beyond recall, testing whether they can use and relate ideas meaningfully. Example items. 7. A school prohibits a transgender learner from wearing a uniform that matches their gender identity. Which principle of DO 32, S. 2017 is violated? 8. A teacher revises her lesson plan to remove gender stereotypes and includes examples of women in STEM. Which policy commitment is illustrated? These items are relational because they require connecting provisions of the policy with real-life situations. For instance, learners must recall the principle, interpret the scenario, and then match the correct provision. This goes beyond simple recall by asking them to apply and relate policy details to actual school contexts. Extended abstract items go beyond making connections. They require aspiring principals to generalize, transfer, or evaluate principles in new or complex contexts. At this level, aspiring principals must synthesize ideas, apply them strategically, or critique situations, demonstrating higher-order thinking and leadership judgment. Example items. 9. As a school head, how would you operationalize DO 32 in governance? 10. How does DO 32 advance equity in education? These items are extended abstract because they require aspiring principals to expand the policy's application beyond the text. They must synthesize across domains, align the policy with broader initiatives like K-12 or school governance, and generalize how it ensures equity in various contexts. This demonstrates higher-order thinking, strategic, evaluative, and future-oriented. This table illustrates how thinking progresses across solo levels. At the unistructural stage, aspiring principals recall a single fact such as the purpose of DO32. In the multistructural stage, they recall several separate details like principles, goals, or actions. At the relational level, aspiring principals connect ideas and apply them in real scenarios, such as uniform policies or lesson planning. Finally, extended abstract items require higher-order thinking, generalizing, synthesizing, and evaluating, for example by aligning gender policy with school governance, equity, and SIP implementation.